Welcome to NMP Talk Show, the show that keeps you informed and engaged with topics about your mental health, wellness. And today we are going to talk about a big word, so to speak, narcissism. We're going to see how we can understand. I want to say it's a pandemic because it's worldwide. Everyone is affected one way or the other about this condition. So we need to understand what it really means and how we can deal with it in our relationships, in our families, wherever we meet people who are suffering from that. And I'm not alone today driving the show. I have my co-host, Figile. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nero. It's always a great pleasure being hosting with you. You mentioning the big word. I didn't even
Yeah,
know what it means until we had to have this show today. And when I
yeah,
was doing my research, especially on TikTok, everybody's talking about narcissism, and I was like, oh, so it is actually thrown around in the social media. It's a great thing that
yeah.
we are having this show today.
That's great. So, yeah, let's get on with the show. I see a lot have connected. Welcome those that are connected on Telegram. As Figile has mentioned, you're more than welcome to interject if you have any question or comment when we have our guest commenting or expanding on this topic about narcissism. So, our special guest today is Mr. Molepo, Mr. Stephen Molepo, who is a psychologist who's going to help us a lot on how we can deal with this. Mr. Molepo, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you to you, Fikile, and the viewers.
Yes, we are so privileged that you honored this invite to talk about narcissism. And as you may have seen also with your practice, that there's a lot of people that are going through it, and a lot of victims, in fact, that have to deal with narcissism. And unfortunately, it's something that is rife in these days, and we need to know how we can deal with it. I mean, I'm talking about we had a pandemic. There was stages that we need to have gone through so that we can understand what this pandemic COVID was about and how we can deal with it. Is there any remedy that was sorted out? And we also have other, pandemics, diseases that are critical that some we have found cures for it. But what about narcissism? What is it?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me and inviting me to be a part of your show. I am forward to great interactions going forward. Yes, as you've just mentioned, there is quite a lot of medical and mental health conditions out there, and narcissism is one of them. When you talk about narcissism, we talk about a person. In mental health, the personality disorders that have been clustered in a diagnostic and statistical manual narcissism is one of those, and there are a few clusters. There are three clusters of personality disorders put together, and it's cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. Although we're not going to be much of the other clusters, cluster A will have about 30 personality disorders, which would include the paranoid personality, schizoid and schizo personality, and cluster C would have more of the avoidant personality, dependent personality, and so forth. And with cluster B, where narcissistic, yes, sir. I was onto a narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder as one of the group B cluster of personality disorders, which would also include antisocial personality, borderline personality, and another one called histrionic. So narcissistic personality might have some few features in there, similar in its group. But when we talk about people who are characterized by a high sense of self. So it's them or no one. These are the kind of people who, if we were to look into their character, they usually lack sympathy. They 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 are often also vulnerable to criticism, and therefore not usually criticizing others. They are they have a high sense of that self-importance and to be recognized everything they do all the time. And these are the kind of accept they are never wrong. And because they believe they are special and they have
Okay.
special powers and they are unique, they can only um, they feel they can only associate with people with similar interests or institutions that are valued highly, um, people with high status, and so on. So that is where they put themselves. They are always above board. They are always above everything. A sense of entitlement is those characters that describe them quite a lot. Everything, like I said to them, every good thing is theirs. Others, they are easily affected when they feel like somebody is taking the stage. They always want to take that stage in terms of admiration.
When you think about the type of person that you just explained, um, we come across a lot of those people, but you never think that they would be borderline, or they might be classed as narcissists. And not yes, yeah, and I'm just like now that you're talking, I'm reflecting and thinking about people that I know around me, or maybe even from a distance, that are portraying such qualities or symptoms, if I may put it, so that we are aware what type of persons they are.
It's something I'm very interested in, and most people that are close to me are like, oh no, don't get Sino started. um, when my initial idea when I heard narcissist was these are people who are just vain, just selfish, attention seekers. I thought it was that simple, but my mom, having studied psychology once, explained to
Yeah.
me what it really is a little. And then
Mm,
I went down the hole. I went on Google and I was like shocked to see just how deep of a thing it is. So it's interesting because a lot of the traits that we typically associate, you might see someone who is selfish, but they may not be a narcissist or someone who has like attention. But so what's happening now? It's such a popular term.
mm,
We have become very
yeah.
quick to label people as
Mm,
narcissists. So I just came on here to say, like, whatever you're hearing tonight, let's not be quick to now get off the show and then
mm,
say, that narcissist, yeah, that one's very loud. That one likes to fantasize, you know?
mm,
Because there are many, many factors from what I've now gathered, seeing psychologists that explain it, reading up on
mm,
it.
mm,
There are many, many signs and symptoms that have to be there in one person. And one of the major things is they have a deep sense of shame on the inside, but they can't let you see that. So they have to always look perfect and have the best things and be in those powerful positions.
yeah.
And also, there's a great lack of empathy. They can mimic empathy, some of them. So, an example that I read about was like, if I'm your friend and we say, let's go somewhere, I'll give you a lift. But I call you like 5 minutes before we're supposed to go and I say, yo, no, yes, I got into a car accident. I'm like, my leg is broken. Sorry, man, I can't come give you a lift. If I'm a narcissist, first thought is, now how he's ruined everything. Like how am I going to get to this? Whatever. Maybe we're going to a concert or we're going to something. How am I going to get to this thing now? You left. But I might on the outside be like, oh, shame, shame, poor thing. Okay, so I can mimic the empathy, but inside. And some of them outwardly would actually say, like, maybe they come see you at the hospital and be like, dude, you really ruined plans tonight. But anyway, I hope you're all right. Like, yeah. So it's very tricky. Yeah, it's very tricky to really, really be able to say, this person is a narcissist. You would need to see a pattern of behavior and interact with them for a period of time before you can really label someone. You can suspect it, see narcissistic traits, but I just wanted to. It's important that we don't always label from one or two things we've seen someone do and say, "Ah, that one's a narcissist," So that's what I love about it so far. It's even when you are researching it, you can start to think like, because you might hear like, oh, these people enjoy attention. And you're like, I kind of like attention. Am I?
Sorry, Sino. Sorry, Sino.
Yeah.
Your background. We hear more of your background than anything else.
Oh, sorry. Are you hearing my kids? Okay.
Yes, we're almost about to sing with them. Sing
They
along with
want to
them.
be part of the show as well.
I'm gonna try and get away.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
They
So
won't stop.
while you do that, we do have another comment on Telegram. Let me unmute. Taboho, welcome to NMP Talk Show. All right. Maybe let's try again. If maybe you disconnect and reconnect, and it should be fine. Yeah. Okay.
I wanted
So,
to ask from Sino because Sino
just a
seems
moment.
like
Just a moment. Mr. Molepo, are you able to hear us still? Mr. Molepo?
No, I wanted to say I would love for Sino to come back, because she touched on something that I wanted to ask Mr. Molepo to say, can narcissist be mistaken with confidence? Because some people can be so much confident that they are viewed as narcissist.
Hi, Suswigile.
Yes, welcome
I
back.
think you can. Hi, can you hear me now? Because like I've tried, but I don't
We
know.
can
Can you
hear
still hear
you
them?
perfectly well.
Yeah, they can be because a lot of the time, especially in spaces like, for instance, famous people, confidence is, you need to have a buckets of confidence, right? So it's actually a good thing. So a person like a narcissist in that environment, the more you like that, the better off you will end up being in that type of environment. So it is easy to, from the get go, to like view the person as, wow, that's such a confident person. I want to be just like them. And of course, being a narcissist, most of them will have the material things and the status and the always looking great. So they tend to get people who do kind of fawn over them, like, oh, no, wait, I want to be just like you because you're so confident and you so this and so that. So you can initially, before you've seen, or let me say before their mask comes off, it can be really easy to just think this is a very confident person, and someone to look up to and a great sort of positive. It's only when they turn on you, or like they go from love bombing you to dropping you like a hot potato. Those are the moments from what I've read about and seen. Those are the times when the mask slips that you might realize, okay, maybe this person is not who I thought they were. And it's quite jarring when it happens. It can be quite shocking. So some people will be married to a narcissist for like decades, and they won't realize until maybe a psychologist tells them, or they learn about narcissism and they start to see it. So it's very It's very scary. It's hard to pick up.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And now you mentioned something about being in a relationship with one. In your research, because I know
Mm,
that you are not an expert in this, in this field. We're hoping for Mr.
no.
Molepo to reconnect and share his expertise in the field. But you seem to have done your research, Sino.
Mm.
Can you help us now? If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, how can that impact your relationship?
Well, so he mentioned, I think part of what I heard him say, he mentioned people that like to have power or control. So you'll find that a person who's married to a narcissist has to walk on eggshells a lot because, you don't want to displease them. Everything is about them, right? So, like,
Mhm,
they might be the type to control how you dress, what you order at the restaurant, what you eat at home, where you go. They might even try to stop you from making other connections, healthy connections, because you belong to them, right? Like you are
mhm,
mine.
mhm,
And
mhm,
yeah, so it's like it can be very subtle abuse in some, depending on because there's also different types of narcissists. So depending on the narcissist you're with, it can be very subtle, sort of emotional abuse, manipulation, gaslighting,
mhm,
and what I read about is that some people, so, okay, the first stage of a relationship with a narcissist, even in friendships or other types of relationships, love bombing.
mhm,
They make you feel like
mhm,
you're on top of the world. I mean, you feel like the most important thing and the most amazing thing. And that's the addictive thing that happens is you become addicted to this feeling and you feel in love and you think they are deeply in love because, I mean, they whisk you off your feet and whatever way they do that. And then when they start to drop you, when the love bombing starts to turn, it can be very subtle and you may not pick it up and
mhm,
you think, oh, maybe he's having a bad day or she's having a bad day.
mhm,
Or, they become really controlling and you're like, oh, okay. But you realize you kind of become conditioned into doing what pleases them because it's better. Otherwise, there's a tantrum, or there's a
mhm,
meltdown,
mhm,
or there's a narcissistic rage. So you kind of become, your brain almost automatically becomes programmed into pleasing this person, doing whatever's right for them. And you end up
mhm.
not knowing, you become empty as a person. And what's
Yeah.
one of the clinical psychologists I read about mentioned was some people can't even, once they've divorced a narcissist or left the unhealthy situation or whatever, they actually can't even do
Mhm,
their own groceries. They get to the grocery stores and they don't know what to do because they're so used to every little thing being about
mhm,
this
mhm.
person, right?
Wow.
So
So they lose their
yeah,
personality.
Yeah.
yes, there's actually something. Yes, you lose yourself completely. You lose yourself if you really become an enabler and you are so in tune to this person. And people who are very empathetic and have a positive, like you want to see the sunny side up of a person. You always want to see the good in a person. You're
Yeah.
gullible. Those are the people that are most likely to become enablers for narcissists and then
Mm.
become vulnerable to narcissistic abuse. So overcoming narcissistic abuse is very hard. It's what the one psychologist mentioned is that a lot of them are so stuck in that love bombing phase. They're like, no, but he used to or she used to be like this. I can't
Mhm,
believe that
mhm.
that's gone or that wasn't genuine or
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
cannot believe it, right? So they stay stuck. It's difficult to first of all create boundary. Oh, that's the other thing. They don't have boundaries. Do not try to.
Mhm, mhm.
It's like with my toddlers. If I say to them, "Hey, you're not allowed to eat sweets before bedtime," they will fight you. They will be, but mommy, but so narcissists are kind of like that. Like they cannot accept if you give them a boundary and say no, but listen, friend, I love you, but today, I'm not feeling well. They'll take offense, like, you know, what does that mean? Like you're rejecting them and so it can get they don't have boundaries. So if you try to now and you realize, okay, now I have to create some safe distance between myself and the narcissist, it's a lot of hard work. They don't like rejection. They
Mm.
really hate rejection. So it would be very hard for you to actually create healthy boundaries with them. So it's a long road for a person who's experienced narcissistic abuse to heal from that and come back to themselves and remember who they really are and what they actually think
Yeah.
and like, even how you like to dress. It can take a while to overcome those things. So yeah,
Okay.
that's as much as I know.
Thank you
No,
very
That's
much,
all I've read.
thank
Sino.
you so much. We do have Mr. Molepo back on the line,
Back online.
back online, but we'll still need him to refresh because it's not recording on his side. Mr. Molepo,
Okay.
today your the internet is against you today, hey? Sure, sure. Please refresh again. Yeah, okay. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give you another link. And I want to see if we can connect you on that link as well. Can you hear me? Oh, okay, okay. Now you're back. Okay, you're right. You're right now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You are recording. We take
perfect.
note of you, Taboho. We'll get to you now. Now, before Mr. Molepo continues, we're also getting messages on Riverside. This time is from Michelle. She was commenting that the determining factor of the narcissist is that they belittle others and they want all the attention to themselves. And she also says they are said to destroy their victims who continuously try to please them, not realizing their cup will never be full. And then lastly, she says victims are trauma bonded. By by the time they wake up, so much has been drained from them financially, mentally, physically, and can result in mental illness and other diseases. As a victim herself, no, as a
Very
victim,
sad.
you are
If
scared
Mr.
for
Malapo is
life.
back, I
That is
wanted to
that is
touch on
sad.
what
That is,
Michelle is
yeah,
saying
Mr. Molepo.
with
Before,
an
yeah,
experience of one of the individuals I interacted with about
mm,
narcissism, was married to one, and she only said who after the former partner has passed on. So they've divorced, and she stayed after the divorce for the longest time. She says
sure.
she's been scared for her life until the former partner passed on. How
Mm.
true is that, Mr. Molepo?
Sorry, you're breaking there, but you're speaking about the couple, partner whose partner has passed away and they were able to be relieved after that.
Yes. So I'm touching on what Neo has read from Michelle, who said, as a victim, you are scared for your life. I just mentioned on the couple who was married and divorced, and the partner said, I only got the sigh of relief. Even after the divorce, I was still scared of my life because I was married to a narcissist. And only after my former partner passed on, that's when I could just be relieved. I could breathe because I've been scared for the longest time of my life, even after being divorced. So I'm asking from you, how true is that? What impact can it have to the partner who is married to a narcissist?
Yes, it can be possible. It can most often happen. Remember, a narcissist does not take defeat that easily. They don't lose in a battle. Otherwise, they are the ones who are supposed to be on top of the game. Even after the breakup, it is still your responsibility as the other partner who contributed to the breakup. And they might have tendencies to stalk you around, to follow you around, and they might also even try to get back to you and try to be um, nicer so that they can be able to soften you and get you back. But most often than not, you'll also be afraid because you don't know what will happen to you if you move on. But that could also be a combination of other traits as well. It may not only just be narcissist. There could be other traits that play a role into that. There could be other deeper pathology into the situation. There could be other types of or symptoms of antisocial tendencies, because narcissists themselves, they might not necessarily have the stronger history of violent behavior and so on. They just boast around, and they are able to maybe even talk badly about you around people, to say it's your fault that the relationship has ended. And yes, you might always experience difficulties moving on, because they might also be following your partner as well, to just make them aware how bad of a person you are.
Sure, sure. Tabogo, you still have a comment to that? I'll just unmute you there, allow you to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Molepo, for being on the show. We really appreciate your time. I think so it's about 2 or 3 questions relating to how you defined a narcissist earlier. So the first one, I'm assuming then that the diagnosis would have to be done by a psychologist, as opposed to maybe me myself reaching that particular conclusion, or people around me, because of certain behavior traits that may be aligned to what you were explaining, that these are some of the personality traits of a narcissist. Then the second one, it sounds like there's also some element of psychopathy to a narcissist. Is my understanding correct? And then now I forgot the third question, but it had to, So my third question was around family history. To what extent does, family history, and what sort of a family environment would sort of put a person on the path to narcissism? Or is it something that can develop? A person might have had a very good upbringing, might not have had a lot of challenges, so very much looked after, had everything, good parents who sent them to very good schools, a very good social life, but at some point developed this sense of self-importance, even though the parents might have taught them empathy during their childhood. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Well, those are deep questions there, Doc. Mr. Molepo, you're the qualified one here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. They are very deep and tricky questions. Realistic questions indeed. Yes, a diagnosis of a personality disorder of any type will be made by a trained psychologist and a psychiatrist. Yes, general medical practitioners are also able to pick those symptoms up and diagnose, although they will refer for further treatment or for further interventions to a psychiatrist. That is correct. It is true that we could try by all means to avoid diagnosing willy-nilly as we walk around and we see people and we say, you see that one is a narcissist, that one is a borderline, and so on, because we may need to have that clinical training and experience to be able to do that. I do agree with the caller indeed. Yes, elements of pathology could always play a role in some of the characters and traits of narcissism, but it's not always an isolated incident. It could just be a person, or it could have been an underlying symptom as well. Somebody who may have been well, then they get involved into some kind of mental health issue, even other issues relating to severe forms of trauma and so on might eventually also have some little bit of contribution there. But yes, other causes, other contributing factors, environmental factors play a very big role. Childhood upbringing experiences could also be seen to be playing that role. For example, overly pampered, overly criticized, than they can be able to handle the level of criticism. They're always trying their best, but their best is never good enough. It could, in the process, develop them or create them into becoming people who always want to try and be the best, want to try and be perfect. And growing up, that could also contribute towards them reacting in those ways, because they cannot settle for anything less than good, and they cannot be able to accommodate and settle for criticism any longer. They've been criticized as children, and they need to try and prove a point at some stage. And they could do that by finding a weaker person and be able to hold them responsible or accountable for everything, yet they are themselves not accountable or responsible for their own actions. Thank you. Well, treating narcissism almost more like treating a personality disorder. It's always a huge challenge in the mental
Can those people
care
be
system,
rehabilitated though?
because now you're dealing with the underlying subjective characters of people. There could be interventions, of course, long-term psychotherapy that somebody can be taken through, and the treatment could mostly focus on the symptoms, on their behaviors, so that they become gradually aware of what they do and what they do to others, and how that could be affecting those other people. Medical interventions may not be so much sought after, but if it is needed, then a psychiatrist gets involved in terms of applying or prescribing the medication for that. It's most often a psychological, psychosocial process, and where somebody has to undergo psychotherapy. In instances where group therapy programs are able to get set up, therapy with people similar, personality traits, so they to learn to open up to one another. They're able to learn to acknowledge and appreciate that what I do to you may be causing harm, as much as what you're doing to me could be causing me harm. So it's a long-term therapeutic process, but it also begins with their insight, their understanding of what they have, what they are going through. If they accept, if they are willing to acknowledge their own condition, then they could be willingly undergo a therapy process, which could possibly assist in improving some of their traits.
And I was about to follow up on that comment, that like any other therapy, the person needs to first admit that they need help. And to my understanding, I think it's not an easy thing for a narcissistic person, to admit that they do need help, because now you're shredding power of them, and they will feel helpless. But I hear what you say. Michelle also says there in our comments, is it genetic? She's asking. And the reason why she's asking is that there are cases where an entire family display such traits. If so, how does one break the cycle?
Environment
Can you hear us,
plays a
Mr. Molepo?
bigger role.
Oh,
Sorry. Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry
don't
about
know
that.
what happened. Yes, I could see also that I was talking alone.
Yeah.
But I can see now that
I
I'm
promise you,
back.
I will not diagnose
Yes,
that.
I was indicating. Yes,
you talking you talking to yourself.
Yes.
you'll not diagnose which one. The cough
No, no, not the cough. That
is.
yeah.
Um,
We'll just leave it to the internet. We just blame the internet. Don't worry.
yeah. It looks like that.
Yeah. Maybe you can start from answering that. Is it genetic or not? Yeah.
Oh yes. I was saying it's mostly more like the basis is not on genetics itself, although research highlights that most of the young children of the narcissist are likely to portray the same traits. They are likely to pick it up. And I was also commenting on the issue of if the entire family having those characters, that as much as it could have been inherited elsewhere, but it could be more of the social influence, the environmental setup of the family. To them, it is a normal way of dealing with issues. It's a normal way of dealing with the realities that they face, and they take it out to the world.
You know what worries me more of this, especially for the victims, right? Is that you become enslaved by such people, right? Even if you break off with the person, you are still in prison because you're constantly thinking about those traits. You're constantly looking up on what had happened. How do you identify the person? How would you advise a victim who has finally broken free from such a relationship, how they can move on past the hurt that they have?
Of course, yeah, that is most often the possibility, that you will always often feel stuck in the same situation over and over again.
Mm.
But and you'd have experienced some trauma in one way or the other, having to deal with such situation. So it is possible that you may need some form of counseling, some form of therapy to gradually be able to let go, to make sense out of the situation that unfolded in your life, and to be able to resume life anew, to be able to see life from a different perspective, so you don't go around painting other people with the same brush, because eventually you become super alert. Every time there is a certain behavior you see in a new relationship, in a new partner that you have, it takes you back, and you're likely to snap, or you're likely to withdraw, or even walk away. And it could have been prematurely, because you would not have addressed the issue and would have concluded beforehand. So understanding that there is a new relationship, there's a new person in your life, and be able to learn to understand those person can be another way to go. But I think a consideration for a therapy could be one of the most strongly considerable actions to take.
Mm. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Molepo. And my question or my worry really emanates from looking at the social media posts that we are bombarded with. Anyway, that's how we see how many victims we have, even though we cannot count how many we have. But we see that this is a widespread thing that we're seeing, especially on social media. And what you just advised, I think everyone must take heed of it, that therapy is what is needed after that. Because if you try to move on by yourself, it might not be possible, or it might even take you longer, where it even hurts you even more. It hurts the relationships that you have that are healthy, because now I'll give you an example. If you on a hunt for a car, or if you're a lady and you're in a hunt for particular shoes or a dress, most likely is you will always now see every second person wearing those shoes, or every second car you see that car, because now your attention is focused on the particular brand or particular car or the shoe. So what I'm saying is, actually, um, building on what you just said, that if we don't go through therapy, it's that we will now see narcissists everywhere, and we start diagnosing others as narcissists. Am I right? Did I hear you
Yes,
right?
that is correct. Because of the pain that one may have gone through, it is highly likely that they will be able to pick that
Mm,
up everywhere they go,
mm,
and it will push you away from trying. It will push you away from being
mm,
able to explore who you are and what you want, because now you begin to see more in people than you could see what you can do about it. So yes, going through a therapeutic process could also help you to be able to find a way to let go.
Mhm.
mm. Yeah, yeah. See, no, I see you have your hand raised. You can go for it.
Hi, Mr. Molepo. Thank you so much for bringing your expertise to the subject. I had a question um, because I don't know if you can hear me. My kids are sort of, can you hear me?
They're still screaming.
um, oh, are they?
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Now it's better.
Okay,
Yes.
so I have a question about, like, in some cases it's easy to say, well, you're now in this narcissistic environment or whatever, and you should leave, or but in some cases you have a boss or a colleague or in-laws or relatives or maybe a spouse that you can't leave. What advice would you give to those people who are sort of stuck in a situation where they're related to or working with or married to a narcissist and they cannot get out? How do they then deal with the narcissist in their lives?
All right, thank you for the question. I believe in this instance, the reality is, as much as you are stuck in that relationship, it's important as an individual to also establish yourself, to know who you are and what you stand up for, and be able to take that bold step, be able to um, act in an assertive way, because unfortunately the more you staying before because you are worried about what will happen and what will be, is the more you suffer. It's not all the time that you should be staying and not leave when you feel you have to. You should also follow your, should we say, your heart. You should be able to take that bold step and get out. If you don't get out, you will forever be stuck there. And going through, you know, I would bring in counseling again, can help you to be able to realize and recognize who you are and be able to find ways to address the situation. You can still be able to handle it while you're in the same relationship or marriage, or you can have a way of letting go and walking away without fear of being harmed, because your life cannot be held at ransom. You cannot be held hostage in a situation where you know you're not happy. That's basically what you could do. But yes, getting support, the family support, the social support, or the mental health related support that you can help can be able to take you out of the situation even more sooner than we could imagine. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sina, I don't know if you answered there. And also those also the are connected to on Telegram. You're more than welcome to raise your hand and ask a question, or even comment on this topic. We're going back to Riverside chat. Michelle is saying, what are the states in the world, especially in South Africa? We often hear of 6% world population. Would you by any chance know the stats, roughly, Mr. Molepo, of this pandemic?
Not really. The stats are not inclusive. Yes, it will talk about between 1% and 6%. But remember that not everybody is able to get to be counted so that they can form part of the stats.
Yeah.
So we will stick to the same figure between 1% and 6%. And I wouldn't have the conclusive stats about South Africa as well.
Well, thank you about that. The honesty as well in this topic. Although the purpose of this show is not to break families or whatever, we're trying to create an awareness in these situations. So the best way to deal with the situation is seek help from the therapist or a psychologist. Is it a therapist or psychologist, Mr. Molepo?
It's both. Psychologist provides therapy, psychotherapy. So yeah, some people prefer to call them therapists.
Yeah, psychotherapy. Yeah. Yeah. So that is what we're trying to encourage, to seek help. We don't want you to die alone there. If you're living with such a person, there is help out there that you can go to so that you get assistance, especially emotional assistance. And once you've passed that stage, it will be a chain effect. You know what to do next. But the purpose of this show, we're not trying to break any families or anything else of that nature, but we're creating awareness. We just want to see how we can identify such a person. Sometimes maybe I am one and I'm not aware that I have these narcissistic traits. But after listening to the show, engaging, then you can have an introspection and see, what am I doing? Can I improve myself? Can I go seek for help? So that we don't have victims that are suffering without any help. And we do have professionals like Mr. Molepo here who'll be able to give that kind of assistance.
This person is asking, what are some strategies for effectively communicating with someone who exhibits narcissistic behaviors?
You sound very low, but yeah, it's about communicating with people with narcissistic.
Do you want me to repeat the question for you, Mr. Molepo?
Yes, you can.
Yes, the person is asking, what are some strategies for effectively communicating with someone who exhibits narcissistic behavior?
Okay, thank you. The communication itself, it's an open process. So communicating with somebody with that kind of character, somebody with a personality disorder of narcissism nature, requires someone to be more assertive, more direct when you talk to them. It's not about fighting, exchanging, words in an argument, but it's to be able to alert what you're doing. So if you do it openly, we anticipate that as much. All right. Are we fine now?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can hear you
All
now.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, I was saying, if you let them just walk all over you as they wish, because that is what they like doing the most, and it means you're going to continue to be the victim all the time, and you will never get to express how you feel towards them or about them, and you'll have to now swallow it, stomach it up, and carry on. But you know that every time they talk to you or every time they address you, they are always making you feel devalued, inferior, and so on. But if you're able to also stand your ground, assertively show them that I don't appreciate that, they will eventually
Interesting.
be able to have boundaries around you.
Yeah. Michelle says they, I think it will be the last comment. It says, once you uncover who they are, things get worse for you. The narc, which is the narcissist, a narcissist, start a smear campaign long before you know it. So getting support is a challenge for the victim. Nobody believes you. You are on your own. That is sad. I feel for you.
Of course, yes, that is
professionals that have to deal. So go ahead.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Most often, that what happens. But at the end of it all, yes, you still need to know who you are. You still need to be able to understand your own values, standing your ground, and your job is not to convince the world out there whether you are right or wrong, because it means when they start that smear campaign, they will only share negative things about you. So you don't have to try and prove yourself right or wrong, but anticipate it to happen and be able to deal with it as and when it comes. Yes, when you need support and you can't find, you would possibly seek more support in the professional space.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Doctor. We really okay. That sound to tell us that we have run out of time, but we really appreciate your input in this topic. I mean, it's a very deep topic that we have engaged in, and we have so much to talk about. And I wish we had time and a good internet. Maybe we could have you back some other time and revisit this topic. Would you be open to that?
Yes, we could give it a try some other time. Yes, there's no problem. Thank you for having me, and
No, we will really appreciate it.
apologies for our
Yes.
interruptions to the internet and so on. We were hoping for a great interaction. I hope that the brief period that we've had together could also have contributed positively to the show. Thank you very much for having us.
I think it has. It has. We are even asked where is Mr. Molepo based?
Sorry, where?
Where is Mr. Molepo based? It's a question from Riverside.
Okay.
How can they
well,
reach you?
I'm based in Polokwane. We're based in Polokwane. Polokwane is in
Polokwane,
province. Yes. Yeah, we're in the city of Polokwane. We are in private practice, so people who need to consult at our practice are more than welcome to call our office line to set up their bookings at 590-1804.
Can you repeat the number again?
015. You got that? 590 1804.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So we'll share it with everyone else that would want to be in touch with you, and hopefully, as well informed you are about this topic, we are confident that you'll be very helpful to them. So thank you for coming to NMP Talk Show and honoring our invite. We really appreciate you a lot. We appreciate your insight, and our audience as well have been engaged and have found, true understanding on this topic. So to close, do you have anything that you would like to share with us for a minute or so?
Not specifically, but I would also like to take the opportunity once again to appreciate the time that we spend with you, or you let me spend with you, and you viewers out there. And we wish everyone all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to thank
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Molepo for
Figile,
being part of
any
our
closing remarks from your
conversation
side?
today. I do believe that all our audience and all our platforms, he added a value in their lives. Like you have said, Neo, that our intention for our show is to build families instead of breaking them. So if you need to consult, if you're staying with a narcissist, or if you have picked up that you might be a narcissist, please do get help. Help is there if you want help, and you will be able to deal with this pandemic, as you have said. No.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone that have connected on Telegram and who have commented and or shared your questions. Also, on Riverside, we thank you for your comments and questions. We were also streaming on Facebook. We really want to thank everyone that has connected there. So this show has been recorded and later on will be posted on YouTube, so you can go through it again. But if you know somebody that has missed it, they will be able to catch up from it. So my name is Neo Morapedi. I'm with my host, Figile Nkosi, and this is how we're signing out.